You know you're nearing haircut time when you start getting a little too Ace Ventura-y. But, you know, I'll just live in the volume of now. Shall we do this highlight? Alrighty then.
3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, everybody? My name is Michael Lee Murphy, and this is another board game highlight. Yeah, I'm gonna do it different. I'm gonna do it like future, like Miss Marble's got hand light instead of Nick doing a little flashlight mime thing. Bunch of bull crap, Nick.
You're not wrong.
This week I have a very fun press your luck game. That's all you do. It's just a luck. It's all based on luck. Like, we moved away from roll and move games because we were tired of just like luck-based, no decision-making games. And now we're back, and I'm loving it. That's right. This game is all about just you hope you get the good things, and then if you don't, then that's bad. But it's not really that bad. This game is very light and friendly and fun, and I think that is how they managed to get around the fact that there's no point. This is Quacks of Quedlinburg. Now, this is, North Star Games brought this over to America. It was Quacks of Quedlinburg. And so they made it the much more American Quacks of Quedlinburg. And it's just a game where you're just like some crazy unlicensed doctor and you're just putting stuff into a cauldron with absolutely zero regulation, because deregulation's always a good idea. We know that. Facts. And sometimes the stuff you're adding to your recipe of whatever you're trying to make makes your cauldron explode. And that's bad, but actually in this game, it's only a minor setback, and that's something that I really like about this game. The game comes down to the different types of chips you can buy that hopefully will make it so that you can build a really cool combination of stuff and not blow your cauldron up. But also, it's still a press your luck game, so that's probably still just going to happen no matter what you want. Let's get down to the table so I can show you this awesome, fun game and just why I like it so much. So sploom, this is it. This is the Quacks of Quedlinburg set up. Boom, look at that right there. That's beautiful. That's pretty right there. So what we have going on here is we have a little scoring board and a little round reminder and little endgame scoring stuff reminders. We have reminders of what the different types of chips that you see in these little BGG bit bowls can do for you. And we have here our little cauldron, our little player area. And so what we're going to be doing each round is we're going to be pulling out chips. Now, these are all chips that we have available to buy, but we don't start off with all those super cool things. We started off with mostly a bunch of bullcrap. All right? Bullcrap's my word of the day, Nick.
Yeah, it is, right?
So what I have here in my hand represents what we start with, and it's going to all go into this bag, which then we will pull stuff out of the bag, which is where the luck part of this Press Your Luck game comes in. So you can see there's a bunch of these little white, like, snap peas, explodey things, and then one pumpkin, and then one little green spider. Now, when you're building out your little recipe for a round, basically the only thing you really need to worry about is these white chips here, because they're the ones that are going to make your cauldron explode. Everything else can only help you. The white ones will make you explode, but as you can see at the beginning, we have a lot more of those than anything else. And you might notice that they have different numbers on them. Now, the numbers are really exciting because that's what's going to help you move further and further down your little cauldron. It goes in a little spiral here. You're hoping to get over here to the handle. So at the start of the round, basically, all these chips are going to go into our bag, and then you're just going to start drawing stuff. Now, you can draw a few of those white ones that I showed you, so long as the total sum of all of the white chips out there do not exceed 7. So if I draw something here and I get like a little green spider, that's awesome. That's not going to hurt me. I'm going to place that down. This spider has a number 1 on it, which means you're going to move it 1 space forward and plop it right down. This dewdrop right here is where you begin your round. And so it's a 1, it just goes to the very next space. But if I were to draw something with like a 2 or a 3, I get to go 1, 2, 3 spaces down and then place it. But unfortunately, if I'm placing my level 3 white one, now I'm basically halfway to blowing up my cauldron. So the higher numbers are really good, but they might make you blow up. So I'm going to quickly play out the rest of this round so you can see how it's going to go, drawing out from my bag one at a time. I've got 1 green spider, don't need to worry about the number of that, but I've got 3 of those whites. I'm going to draw another white out there, boom. And then I'm going to draw another one out here, boom. See, that's another 2, so bam, boom. So now already I'm at 6. So if I draw another 2, of which there's 1 more in here, I'm going to explode. and I drew it because that's how this game goes. So what you can do in a round is basically at any point, if you decide you want to, you can stop pulling stuff from your bag and stay right where you are. Or you can go until you blow up your cauldron, which I just did. I have a total of 8 with the whites right there. The total value of the sum on the chips, not physical chips. I don't have 8 chips out. And I blew up my cauldron, so I have to stop. Once everyone has either blown up their cauldron or choosing to stop, when everyone has been choosing to stop, that is when we go to the end of the round kind of bonuses and things. So the first thing you're going to do when you end a round is you're going to look who went the furthest. Now, as we're going around and around, you see the numbers will get higher and higher. And there's these kind of like foggy green numbers and then numbers that are in kind of like a little open book. The foggy green numbers are going to be our currency for each round. And the little numbers that are in the little book are your victory points, which ultimately will win you the game. So here I have 10 money, but unfortunately I blew up, so I'm not going to get any sort of bonus. But say I went to 10 and it was the highest among everyone else, but I didn't blow up, I would get to roll this cool special die. The person who goes the furthest without exploding every round gets to roll a die, and it's always going to give you something good. It might give you a couple victory points. It might give you a little ruby, which you can turn in for cool stuff. It might give you a pumpkin, which is cool. Or it might allow you to move your dewdrop forward, which is essentially going to mean that you start further and further in future rounds. I might be able to start like at 8 later on, which will help me get higher and higher scores. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to check to see if anyone played any of the special types of chips, because there's 3 that have little end of round bonuses. So one of them is the green spider. Now we start off with a green spider, and we have different powers that they all have, but they usually relate to their placement on your board. Now, if they're the last thing placed or the second to last thing placed, in this instance, if it's a number 1 spider, I'm going to get a pumpkin. So you're going to check for anything like that. And there's a couple more types that have end of round bonuses, what I'll talk about in a minute. The other thing you're going to check for is to see if there's a little red ruby here showing on the next available space. If so, you get a ruby, which again, you can turn in later to do a couple things. And then we go to kind of scoring. So if you didn't blow up, you get some victory points and you get money. If you did blow up, it's not really the end of the world. You just have to choose victory points or money. You don't get both. So usually early game, there's 9 rounds. I'm going to choose money so I can get better chips to hopefully draw fewer of those bad white chips. But late game, maybe I would choose just victory points to make sure I don't fall too far behind. So that's one thing I really like about this game is that they don't punish you very much. Like it's a friendly game. It's a press your luck game. It's meant to have highs and lows, but ultimately leave you smiling. So they don't like punish you for having bad luck because it's not your fault. You know, it's not your fault, but it's not your fault.
I know.
It's not your fault. Your luck is terrible, man.
I know.
It's not your fault.
I know.
Not your fault.
Don't with me.
Still not your fault. So once everyone's kind of gotten their victory points, we move on to purchasing things. Now, purchasing things is awesome because they're going to give us better chips and give us little powers that will kind of help mitigate the game for you and kind of create your own luck, as they say. And the rules for that are you can purchase 2 chips in a round, assuming you have enough money for 2 chips. And they have to be different types of chips. Now we have pumpkins and mushrooms and death moths and little mandrakes and things. So you always have to choose 2 different types of chips. And this is where the game gets really, really fun. Now we start off the game with 5 different types of chips you can buy. And then in rounds 2 and 3, we add 1 new type of chip apiece, which is actually really nice because especially if you're teaching people the game, you can kind of, you don't have to front load them with all the information. You can kind of save some things for a couple rounds in to then start introducing. So let's go over quickly just an example of what some of these powers can do. And one thing I really like is that most of these powers are double-sided, and there's 2 of them. So you actually have 4 options for what any of these 1 chips can do depending on your game, which is going to create a lot of variability. It's going to create a lot of longevity with this game. You can keep playing it again and again because they all have different types of powers, and how do those powers combo with the other chips and stuff. So that's something that I love about this game, which is really going to take it from like oh, that was a really fun one-time experience into a game that I'm going to want to play over time. So one thing that you start the game with in your bag, and you can always purchase and it's very cheap, is a pumpkin. Pumpkins don't have any kind of power. They're only ever have a value of 1, so they're not going to move you very far down your track, but they're safe. They will not hurt you, and they're very affordable. So pumpkins are A-okay. Real quick, pumpkin pie is delicious. Put your favorite pie in the comments below. Thanks, everyone. The next thing that you can get are mushrooms. Now, mushrooms are really cool, and in this particular iteration of the powers, they pair with pumpkins well. So pumpkins themselves don't do anything, but if you happen to draw some pumpkins before you draw a mushroom, they're going to boost the value of those mushrooms by either 1 or 2, depending on the pumpkins you put. So now 1s become 2s, 2s become 3s, and 4s become 5s or 6s, depending on those pumpkins. So now you can start to figure out how to combo things together. Maybe I'm going to purchase mushrooms and pumpkins a bunch, so hopefully I have a better chance of drawing those out. But again, you might not. You might just draw a bunch of whites anyway. Still not your fault. Another one that's really cool is these little like bird scullies right here. Now what they'll do is, if it's a value 1, 2, or 4, depending on that number, after you place that chip, you're going to draw that many out of your bag and take a look at what you got. So if I draw 2 more, I can see if any of them are kind of good to play. And if there's one of them that you want to play, you can play it down just like that. And then anything you don't play goes back into your bag. But also if you draw a bunch of stuff you don't want, you can just throw them back in your bag. So it doesn't mean you're not going to draw it right now again, but you might avoid something bad. So that's pretty cool. That's a very useful one that you can kind of chain a bunch of bird skulls together, because if you draw a bird skull, then you get to do the next bird skull, and you get to do the next bird skull, and you get to do the next bird skull, and on. These green spiders I talked about, they're always going to be activated if they're the lasting place or the second to lasting place. And this one, based on their value, you're going to get either a pumpkin or a bird skull or a mushroom or a mandrake or these nightmare things. I don't even know. They've been called ghost farts. I think it's like death breath or something. This is scary, whatever. You get to get the scary purple nightmare thing. So that one's kind of interesting because it's going to be hard to draw that last, but it also doesn't hurt you at all. So hey, spiders are good for once. There's these death moss things, which are the only times where you're going to kind of like really interact with your neighbors. Now you're going to want to play more of these than the people to your left and right. And if you do, you'll get a bonus of either getting to move that dewdrop forward, which will help you start later and later each round and get higher scores, or you might be able to get an additional ruby, which you can then turn 2 of in to increase that dewdrop or refresh this super cool flask. Then there's a couple more that get introduced in a couple later rounds. One is these little mandrake dudes, which oftentimes will help manipulate other chips in the game. So in this instance, if I put a mandrake down, the next chip that comes out, no matter what it is, you're going to double the value that's shown on that chip. So 1 becomes a 2, 2s become 4s, 4s become 8s. And it's super cool when you get that, because you just go flying around your cauldron and get a super high score. So mandrakes are super fun. The last one are these weird death breath things that it doesn't matter where they get placed. It doesn't matter in relation to what, or if you blow up your cauldron, they're just going to give you stuff if you happen to draw them out. So if I draw 1, I'll get like a victory point. If I draw 2, I'll get a victory point and a ruby. And if I draw 3 or more, I'll get 2 victory points, and then I'll get to move that dewdrop forward. So it can be really useful, but the bummer is that they only are ever a value of 1. So they're not going to help you move through that cauldron and get a really high score in that round, but they do have kind of a guarantee of victory points even if you blow up. So it's kind of a management system there. And that again is why I like this game, because you don't have to make decisions in the round except for when to stop, which can be fun to try to push it as long as you go. But there are really interesting combos that can be formed with these different types of chips. And then again, they all have different variants on what these chips do, which can be really, really interesting, because right now, pumpkins and mushrooms go really well together. But if I flip this over, mushrooms are completely their own thing, where you can choose to not play them and store them up all game, and then 1 round, throw all those mushrooms down and get a really big score. So it's completely different. And again, is going to create a really different, interesting experience. The thing I like about this game is because it's so light and simple, they have accessibility in mind. You play 9 quick rounds. You're just doing your own little thing. You're playing your own little game. It doesn't really matter what other people are doing. So the accessibility is there, but then you can make it a little more complicated in a couple different ways. One is with choosing maybe a little more advanced versions of the powers, the little chips and things like that. You could do that. Our player board itself has 2 different sides. One that doesn't have anything really special going on, and then another one which introduces an extra dewdrop. So now when I move my dewdrop forward, I can either go up here, or I can go down this track and get some in-game bonuses like rubies and victory points and different types of chips. So now that's another fun decision that I get to make as a player in the game. But maybe you don't want to do that in the first or second game and let people kind of get comfortable first. That's fantastic. I like games that can scale high and low, easy to more difficult, so that you can really play with just about anybody, no matter what the circumstances is. You can make this game work. That's pretty much the gist of the game, guys. You're gonna play again 9 quick rounds. This game is designed for fun, and so they just make it forgiving and easy. There's these events that get played every round, and they're always good. Another thing I appreciate is if you kind of have some bad rounds, because it is a luck-based game, they have some catch-up mechanisms in mind. So around this board, there are a bunch of little rats, okay, because we live in rat times, and you, as a player, have a little rat. And this rat, basically from the second round on, is going to be in play for everyone who's not in the lead or not right next to whoever's in the lead. So if someone's way up here at 13, and I haven't even gotten a score yet because I keep blowing up my cauldron, I get to look at all the little rat tails that are kind of draped across the little board here, and for every rat tail, I'm gonna place this forward. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rat tails between me and the leader, which means I get to go to my dewdrop and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces, and then I begin my round from my rat. So I have kind of a head start on this next round, which really kind of helps stop people from just running away with the game, because you might just have a really lucky game. So that's something I appreciate. There's all these fun little things that kind of heighten the drama of what is just a very silly, simple game. I'm curious if you played Quacks of Quedlinburg. What do you think about it? I'm not gonna lie, this game really took off because it was paired with an incredible experience, which I've talked about, going to Dice Tower Con for the first time. The night before the convention opened, we got to play this game. It was a German copy, and Dave Luza was on hand to kind of translate these event cards and things for us, which was great. And it was just a beautiful pairing of like meeting a bunch of my favorite people for the first time in person, all getting to hang out and laugh and then play this silly game. And it endeared me to this game so much. And that's why I want to challenge you all to like, just, you know, have fun with this. You might create a new board gamer with a really fun one-time experience. For you, it's just this one play of this one game, but for them, it might be something that just sticks in their brain forever. For me, Quacks of Quedlinburg will always be a game I love because I had so much fun that first time playing, and so many things came together, so many beautiful people. It's gonna stick with me, you know? And it's just a reminder that the things you're out there doing matter. You know, you can have positive experiences, you can have a positive outlook on life, and it might create something very palpable for somebody, even if it's not something that you remember. You know, there might be people that we played this with that are like, oh, I played that? Oh, okay, cool. You know, but I know that most of the people we did play with all had a really good experience, and we all still talk about this game, and it's why I was so hungry to get it. So anyway, if you haven't checked out Quacks of Quedlinburg, have some fun and just get into it. It's silly, it's great. I love these little powers, they're so interesting. But really, it's a light, breezy game. Good for a game night as a kind of a filler. It's a filler plus in terms of time. I really love it. Let me know your comments on Quacks of Quedlinburg. I can't say it if it's an American or Dutch or wherever it's supposed to be. It's a fun game, folks. Play it. North Star Games did a great job bringing it over and translating it for us, and now we can all play, and we don't have to have a Dave Luza next to us translating, although if you can get that, you should, because he's a magical human being. Just look at him. Ah, how dare he? How dare he be so handsome and talented? If you want to suggest a game below or behind me to have us do a review of or highlight, I messed that sentence up so many ways. Anyway, if you want to see us do a highlight on something you can see in this photo or somewhere else, let us know in the comments below. And if you like what we do and want to see me get better at it, consider supporting our Patreon, because then maybe I can get some hooked on phonics and finally learn how to read and speak properly. You can go and check out a link to our Patreon in the description of this video. Thank you so much for everyone. Thank you. I'm losing it, man. I'm falling apart here at the end. Bad. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me on Board Game Highlight and hanging out and talking some Quacks of Quedlinburg. Have a great day. Hey, guys. I just want you to know that we have a Patreon, and I'm hanging in here waiting for the next patron, so maybe you guys can help me out before I fall, because I don't have much strength, man. I might go down. Also, you can subscribe to us. I feel really unsafe. I think I'm going to fall.
Mike. Huh? What are you doing? You're attached to a rope.
Well, yeah, but it still looks dangerous.
Like, that rope can hold up a Camry. You can just let go, you know.
Can I?
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Are you sure? You want to see?
You shouldn't just, yeah, you're fine. Oh. You're fine. You shouldn't, you know, abuse the Patreon thing like that, you know.
Yeah, you're right. You know what? I need to be taken down a peg or two. Can you lower me?
Lower?
Sorry. You can still subscribe if you want.
Yeah, you know.
You can upgrade your game experience with Game Toppers LLC if you want.
Yeah.
Or check out Restoration Games. But you know what? Don't do it for me and my fear-mongering tactics. Okay, well, you know what?
Hey, that was on you.
Did you see
That
that?
was on you.
Did you see that? That's on record.